I am Patricia. I am from Geneva in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. I'm self-employed, founder at Web Presence Care and other projects. And I am a WordPress contributor and a diehard fan of open source and data ownership.
My name is Dennis Snell. I work at Automattic, building WordPress and WordPress JSON technologies. I come from the desert in Tucson, Arizona, and I spend a lot of time incorporating web standards and working to improve the maturity and health, the long-term health of WordPress. And as part of that, I worked on the HTML ACI hit a while back and continue to develop that, continue to develop the technologies that make interoperability with other WordPresses and also with other internet standards reading services.
Can you briefly share a description of your project?
Yeah, I came with that idea because I would like to have and so us to build a system that make it easy for people to migrate between different systems if they migrate from one CMS to another. And usually it's there are some solutions that you have to do manually, most of it for data, but very rarely also for theming. So I discussed then with Dennis about what is possible to do on this, and he came with really great tech ideas that he is going to tell you now.
Last year at CloudFest, we spent some time working on representing more rich content models in WordPress. And this year, we kind of are continuing the idea with the goal of making it more possible for people to take their data with them. And also, as Patricia mentioned, to take the presentation of their sites with them. So we want to kind of tackle this difficult problem, or at least tackle a piece of this difficult problem of taking two systems that are fundamentally different and visualize the world in different ways and finding a middleman, a middle ground on which to communicate that. And again, to move from one place to another, one platform to another, or one host to another.
What problem does your project aim to solve?
I think a lot of developers or people who have tried to work on their own websites can feel the same pain of when you start out and you've invested a lot of time and energy building your content, building your organization and layout, choosing a style that looks right. And then maybe that works for a few years and you try and update it eventually, or you lose an account, or the developer that you hired 8 years ago is nowhere to be found and you feel lost. You're trying to move to another system or hire another developer, and that developer has no way of working with your content. This is something that just shouldn't be. There's way too many abandoned sites that have to be rebuilt from the start, including all the content. We don't like that. We prefer to be able to say, you put in all this work, you get to keep that work. And also, you put in all this content, you get to keep that content. To me, that's at the heart of what we're trying to solve.
And also, it's to lower the barrier of entry about tech skills, because very often you will need to hire a developer or hire an agency to do that for you. But if you have some tech skills and can use the tools we are going to build to migrate your own work, so it's much better for your budget, because you don't need to hire for that. So it's to lower and make it more accessible as well.
Yeah, I've certainly felt that frustration of wanting to try a different platform, feeling like my data is stuck. And there's a lot of potential that I could see for this project, even within a CMS, sometimes migrating from plugin to plugin in the same category, like an e-commerce plugin or a learning plugin, which brings me to my next question. What are the goals and scope of your project?
So developing those migration tools and promoting open data format. Maybe Dennis can tell you more about that. And also, I'm also thinking a lot about the documentation, because very often the documentation on project is lacking, I would say. Building a team also with people for documentation. For example, myself, I'm not an engineer, but that would be one of the scope as well, to using the tools we are going to build, but also maybe documenting what already exists. And there is also the use of large language model. So with artificial intelligence to bring into the project to help. So maybe help with prompting and training large language model. Maybe Dennis, you want to add a little bit more about this?
Sure. We have a lot of work. We have no shortage of work. So I think some of the scope is going to depend on who wants to join the project. I think at the very basic, we do think that these LLM technologies have been surprisingly good at inferring structure from the page, inferring which parts of the page are content, inferring style sheets, and being able to even generate from a textual prompt a page or a theme that matches what somebody is looking at. And they also provide the opportunity to iterate rapidly, to say, okay, take that part of the page, that sidebar, and add a clock widget to it or add a calendar widget to it. So we'd like to start and focus on being able to take some of these themes from various CMSs. I don't want to be exclusive here, but for example, WordPress, Drupal, Typo3, and have the LLMs analyze the visual theme, which might include some backend PHP or backend Python or some other language, and try and generate a visual template that can then be reinterpreted on another platform. So that's our primary scope. If we have the additional work, if we have the additional contributors, we'd also like to attack that same target for data. So a lot of CMSs have different table representations of content. They have different mixes of backend code that transforms content. Some might even allow CSV files, database connections to other database systems. And we'd like to see if we can find a common language in the middle that we can convert into and convert out of, so that each CMS can then kind of hook into that architecture and make a more universal way of representing content models and visual styles.
Well, speaking of contributors, what attendee skill set would be most applicable to your project?
We're looking for people who are excited about this project, people who are wanting to explore ways to use LLMs where they're really good. LLMs have various usefulness, various activities where they're useful. And this one is prime on their strengths. So we're looking for people who want to explore LLMs, are looking for people who might have background in incorporating large language models into other workflows or applications. And we're also looking for people who have expertise on these different platforms, because if we don't know much about the platform, we won't be able to build and adapt it. So I would say those two skills are paramount for somebody joining.
So indeed, to have people from other CMSs than WordPress, because we are both expert at WordPress. So if there are people from other platforms, that would be really great for them to join, so we can all work together to build the adapters. And I would say that even if you don't have any of the skills that we listed here, as I said previously, it's always very important to have people to write documentation, to take care of the project management of the whole project, this delegate task, and maybe take care of a website to promote the project. So it's not only like you have to know this like expertise to join, we need all type of skills.
How do you envision the impact on the open web and society in general?
Oh, that, as I said earlier, to lower the barrier of necessary tech skill to be able to do it by yourself, So it would help, like, for example, solo entrepreneur who are a bit curious and have some tech skills, but have maybe not the budget to pay an expert to do that for them. It would help agencies and developers to automate their processes, and they would gain time, Yeah, the fact that to promote open source and open data, it's a value that I cherish. To be free, actually. That's in the name of the project, CMS Freedom.
I might add that there was a time when millions of MySpace home sites disappeared overnight. There was a time that literature, tech documentation disappeared from a popular tech documentation site overnight. There was a time that millions of tweets vanished. The web is full of a history of proprietary locked-in platforms, not only holding their data hostage, but I think far more likely than a malicious event was these platforms ceased to exist or changed their terms, and all the content was gone, just disappeared from the internet, apart from what exists today on archive.org. We feel that making it easier to share and interoperate and to take your data and move it around makes the web as we know it more durable and more long-lasting. And I sure don't want to see all this influx of information and content get lost. because we don't have this stuff in a library. We don't have physical copies spread around the world. It's important that the information we put out there on the web stays available for all humankind. Otherwise, everything we've built just kind of disappears and we have to start over.
And finally, my favorite question, which award, except for the overall winner, would you like to win with your team?
We want to focus on the success of our project, but with that success would come the impact, for the future, for society, and I'm sure also we'll build a dream team. So I think there is that dream team award, and yeah, that's anyway a great way to start a project, to be at the hackathon, regardless of the award.
Awesome. Well, anything else you guys would like to add?
We can't wait 5 weeks for now, but this year we'll have to edit because of the date. Will you be there, Christian?
I will, yes. I'm looking forward to meeting you both in person.
Wonderful. Me too.
Awesome. Well, Dennis and Patricia, thank you for your time, and I will see you both in March.
See you
Thank
in
you,
March.
Christian.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian. Thank you. Bye, Dennis. Bye, Christian.